When you get right down to it, a database really have a pretty simple job. You give it some data, it promises to keep it safe, and later when you ask for that data back, it gives it to you. Simple, right? But the how, the how is everything. How it actually stores that data and how it finds it again, that's the difference between an app that feels like magic and one that just crawls. So today, let's pop the hood and really look at the amazing data structures that make it all work. I love this German proverb because it gets right to the heart of the problem in database design. See, it's super easy to just jot things down as they come in, one after another. But being lazy on the way in means you have to work a lot harder when you need to find something specific later. And that tension, right there, is the fundamental puzzle every single database has to solve. So let's start from first principles. What's the absolute simplest database we could possibly build? Well, it might look something like this little shell script. This function, dbSet, takes a key and a value, and it does just one thing. It sticks them together with a comma and appends them to the end of a file we're calling database. That's it. That's our entire write operation. It's what we call an append-only log. And after we run that dbSet command a couple of times, our database file looks just like this. It's literally just a log of key-value pairs written in the exact order they showed up. It's dead simple. And because appending to a file is one of the fastest things an operating system can do, our writes are blazing fast. Now check this out, because this is a really important idea. How do we handle an update in the system? Well, we don't. We don't go back and edit the old line for key 42, we just append the new version to the end of the file. In this kind of system, the last thing you wrote is always the most current version. That is a core principle of log-based databases. Okay, so writing is super fast. We've got that part down. But we've just created a huge problem for our future selves. How do we get a value back? Well, our dbGet function here has to scan the entire file, from the very beginning to the very end, looking for our key, and then it has to grab the very last one it found. If this file has 1 billion lines, it has to scan 1 billion lines, every single time. In computer science terms, we call this an O of N operation. All that means is that the time it takes to find something is directly tied to n, the total number of items in our database. So if you double the data, you double the lookup time. That just doesn't work in the real world. It doesn't scale. So to fix our terrible read performance, we need an index. The best analogy is the index at the back of a book, right? It doesn't contain the actual information. It's just a signpost. It tells you exactly what page to turn to. But here's the catch, and there's always a catch. Every index we add makes our reads faster, but it also makes our writes a little bit slower, because now every time we write data, we have to update the index too. It's a trade-off. And this is a brilliant way to build our first index. We just keep a hash map in memory. For every single key, the value isn't the data itself, but the byte offset. Think of it like a super specific page number, telling us the exact location of that data in our big log file on the disk. A lookup is no longer a full scan of the file, it's now an instant lookup in memory and then one single jump to the right spot on the disk. We just made our reads incredibly fast. But this simple approach has a couple of big problems. First, that entire hash map, every single key, has to fit in your computer's RAM. If you have billions and billions of keys, well, you're gonna run out of memory. And second, it's useless for range queries. You can't ask for all the keys between A and B, because the keys are all jumbled up in the hash map. You'd have to look up every key one by one. So, how can we keep our super fast sequential writes, but get around these limitations? Well, this leads us to a much more sophisticated and powerful idea that's built on that same log concept, the log structured merge tree, or what everyone just calls an LSM tree. The secret sauce for LSM trees is a new rule for our log files on disk. Instead of just appending data in whatever order it arrives, we now require that inside any given file, all the key value pairs are sorted by the key. We call this a sorted string table, or SS table. And this one little change, making things sorted, has massive implications. Over time, we're going to have a bunch of different values for the same key scattered across our files. So the database needs to do some housekeeping. It has this process called compaction, where it goes through a file, throws away any old or duplicate keys, and writes out a brand new, clean file that only has the latest value for everything. And here's where the magic of sorting really pays off. Because every one of these files is already sorted, we can merge them together incredibly efficiently. It's just like the merge sort algorithm you might have learned about. You can take 100 small, sorted files and merge them into one big, new sorted file in the background without ever stopping the database from handling new reads and writes. It's really slick. So let's put it all together. The whole LSM tree process works like this. First, a write comes in and gets added to a sorted structure in memory. We call that a mem table. Second, when that mem table gets full, it gets flushed to disk as a brand new, perfectly sorted SSTable file. Third, in the background, a process is always working, compacting and merging these files together. And finally, when a read comes in, the database checks the mem table first, then the newest file on disk, then the next newest, and so on, until it finds the key.
This design also brilliantly solves that index must fit in memory problem. We don't have to keep every single key in memory anymore. We only need a sparse index, just a few signposts. So the in-memory index might just tell us that the key handbag is at a certain location. Since the file is sorted, we know our key, say handiwork, has to be somewhere after that. So we can just jump to that spot and scan a tiny block of the disk instead of scanning the whole file or holding billions of keys in RAM. It's just genius.
LSM trees are fantastic, but believe it or not, they aren't the most common indexing structure out there. That title belongs to something with a totally different design philosophy, the B-tree. If you have ever used a relational database like PostgreSQL or MySQL, you've used a B-tree. And the fundamental difference really boils down to this. LSM trees only ever append data. They never, ever go back and change a file that's already been written. B-trees do the exact opposite. They chop up the database into fixed size blocks, usually 4 or 8 kilobytes, called pages. And when they update data, they go and overwrite those pages right where they are. A lookup in a B-tree is kind of like a game of 20 questions. You start at the very top, at the root page, and you look at the key ranges. You ask, okay, is my key between 200 and 300? Yep, so you follow that pointer down to the next level of pages. All right, is it between 250 and 270? Yes, you follow that pointer, and you keep doing this, hopping down level by level until you land on what's called a leaf page, and that's where your data actually lives. So to recap how these work, the whole database is broken into pages. These pages point to each other, forming this tree structure that the database works very hard to keep balanced. Because it's balanced, a lookup is an O log n operation, which is incredibly fast and predictable. Updates happen by overwriting pages in place. And you might be thinking, wait, isn't that risky? What if the power cuts out mid-write? And that's where the write-ahead log, or WAL, comes in. Before the database ever changes a page, it first writes its intention to a simple append-only log. That way, if there's a crash, it can use that log to get back to a consistent state. Okay, so now we have our two main contenders. Two dominant but very different designs for powering a database. This brings us right to the ultimate question, the core trade-off, writes versus reads. Which one is actually better? And the answer, as it so often is in engineering, is it depends. As a general rule of thumb, LSM trees are usually faster for writes. They're just doing that super efficient sequential append to a file. B-trees have to do random writes all over the disk to overwrite different pages. On the other hand, for reads, B-trees are often faster and definitely more predictable because finding a key is just one clean path down the tree. An LSM tree might have to check a few different files on disk to find what it's looking for. And that right there is the heart of the trade-off. So how in the world are you supposed to choose? Well, it all comes down to your application's workload, and we can generally group database workloads into two big categories: online transaction processing, or OLTP, and online analytical processing, or OLAP. Your typical website or mobile app is an OLTP system. It does tons of little random reads and writes. Think looking up a user's profile, posting a comment, liking a photo. It cares about the latest state of the data. B-trees, with their super predictable read performance, really shine here. OLAP systems are different. They're your data warehouses. They're all about huge, bulk data imports and running massive queries that scan millions of records at once. Think, what were our total sales by region for the last quarter? In that world, the incredible write speed of LSM trees can be a massive win. And that really brings us to the most important takeaway here.
There is no such thing as the best database engine. It just doesn't exist. Every database you use is a complex, beautiful collection of engineering trade-offs. So the real question isn't which one is faster. The real question is, what am I optimizing for? Am I optimizing for fast reads, high write throughput, lower storage costs? Understanding these data structures underneath it all is what gives you the power to make that choice.